Right, I'd like to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order at 12:15. I would entertain a motion on the bills.
Chairman, we make a motion to pay the bills as noted on March 31st, 2014.
Do we need to read the full amounts?
Yes, please.
Okay, can you, if you'll just read off each of the...
Or we've got to call who's here, don't we? No?
We don't.
No, okay. Consideration of claims to be paid in the amount of $158,161.71. The amount of manual checks in the amount of $6,362.03. Checks written for payroll and liabilities for March 21st in the amount of $221,416.21 for a total of $385,939.95.
And I will second that. Were there any questions on the bills? Nothing. And I also had nothing, so all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Acting City Administrator, is there anything else for us today?
No, nothing at all.
All right. I guess meeting adjourned then.
Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. Would Councilmember Larson please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Would the Administrative Secretary please conduct the roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilman Rich Guard.
Here.
Councilman Martin Canan.
Here.
Councilwoman Mary Ellen Christensen.
Present.
Councilman Jonathan Fabian.
Here.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Here.
Mayor Ron Warbness.
I'm present. Thank you. The Chair would entertain a motion to excuse Councilmember Smith from tonight's meeting.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion to excuse Councilman Smith.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I declare that we have a quorum present this evening. The Chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Your Honor, I would move to approve the agenda at this time.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Communication from the floor, citizens' comments. Anyone in the audience wishing to address the council regarding an item that is already on the agenda will be given an opportunity to speak later on. I would ask those individuals who wish to address the council at this time to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record. Is there anyone wishing to address the council this evening? On any subject? Okay. I'm sorry. Oh, great.
Hi, sorry, I'm Ricky Larson. I'm here to talk about the Wyoming Miss Nobles.
If it's going to be on
the agenda, so
if it's
I'm
on
here
the
to talk
agenda,
about that.
we'll have a chance to speak
Perfect.
about it later.
Making
So,
sure we're on.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ricky. We'll look forward to it. Okay. Would the Administrative Secretary please read the consent agenda items by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Approval of the minutes, March 18th, 2014, regular council meeting. Approval of the minutes, March 31st, 2014, Finance Committee meeting. Approval of the Finance Committee recommendations, March 31st, 2014. Ordinance number 14-005 on second reading, repealing chapters 5.16, special investigator licenses, 5.20, taxi cab limousine licenses, and 5.24, tree trimming licenses. And I'll read the ordinances by title only. Proposed ordinance number 14-005, an ordinance repealing chapters 5.16, 5.20, and 5.24 of the Riverton Municipal Code pursuant to special investigators, private detectives, and security agents taxi cab and limousine services, and tree pruning, trimming, and removal business respectively, and providing for an effective date. And ordinance 14-006 on second reading, rezone Lot 2 Brentwood Addition, proposed ordinance number 14-006, and ordinance amending the zoning district map of the city of Riverton, Wyoming, designating the rezone of Lot 2B, replat of lots 2A and 3A, replat of Tract A and Lot 7, Block 1, Brentwood Addition, City of Riverton, Fremont County, Wyoming, from B Residential District and CO Commercial Office to C Residential District.
Your Honor, it's the recommendation of the Finance Committee to approve claims to be paid in the amount of $158,161.71, manual checks written in the amount of $6,362.03, checks written for payroll and liabilities for March 21st, 2014 in the amount of $221,416.21 for a total of $385,939.95.
Okay, thank you. The chair would entertain a motion regarding the consent agenda.
Your Honor, I would move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mayor votes aye. Okay, motion carries. At this time, we're going to have agenda item number 8, presentation of former Councilman John Lars Baker, former Public Services Director Bill Urbicite, and Lands Division Manager Paul Throckmorton. I'm going to change those around just a little bit. I hope it's all right with everyone. I apologize this evening for my voice. Saturday I came down with the crud, and I'm just now recovering from it, and I'm not fully recovered, but I think we're going to be all right. So, but it's, I don't know, this is going to be kind of tough. But I think we will go ahead and move Mr. Urbicite to the last, if that's all right with Paul being superseded by Bill, if that will be all right. Okay. At this time, Lars, do you want to step up to the podium and I shall come down and join you? Lars was appointed to the council on August 29th of 2006 to fill a vacancy seat, and then Mr. Baker ran in subsequent elections until his retirement December 17th, 2013 from the Fremont County Weed and Pest. And I've had the pleasure of being on the council with Lars since 2011 when I was in office, and I really enjoyed. I would send a lot of emails out to people and ask what their opinion was on a question, you know, and what do you think about this? And if I got any response back from anybody, it was usually a 2-3 line sentence. But from Lars, I would get 2 pages. And I really appreciated that. He put a lot of thought into it, put a lot of work into his, took serious his council duties. And I think that's really important. It is an important responsibility that our council members hold. And I'm just very proud of the time that I've spent with Lars. I'm optimistic that he will choose to run again in 2014 for some position. He's just too good a man to let go. So, Lars, here is your gold watch.
Beautiful,
So,
thank you.
yeah,
Beautiful.
it's a nice one. And,
Andy, beautiful.
okay, thank you, Lars. I appreciate it.
Just that I had a good time on the council, and I learned a lot about how the city works, and so I guess I'm hopeful that the new guys are going to learn a lot about how the city works.
I would like to say that I'm going to miss our mosquito reports this summer. So Anyway, maybe you can come
Phone
down.
them in, I'll phone them in.
Phone them in. Sounds great.
Show us your watch.
We'd like to see this, if I can hold it here. Wow. Okay,
Thanks, Lars.
thank you.
The next one will be for Mr. Throckmorton, Paul, and I think our lands service person is going to be doing that, Don Wilhelm.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor and council and audience. I'm a pale stand-in for who actually should be up here, but we will miss Paul. He's been with the city for 37 years and 8 months, and I think he's practically worked in every department in the public services during that time, or at least helped out with all of them. So he will greatly be missed. He started as a sanitation driver, dumping barrels, the 55-gallon steel drums, and now he is retiring after being the Lands Division Manager for, oh, he can't remember. That's why he's retiring. So anyway, exactly. We do thank him for his years of service and present him with the watch.
I will make a couple remarks. Is it on?
It is on.
I do want to thank all of the good people that have worked for through the years and all the good people that's worked with me. It would have been a lot rougher through my time with the city if I hadn't had good people around me. So I do thank everyone. And it's been a nice ride, but it's time to get off the horse. Thank you all.
Okay. Next one is probably going to be you want to come on up?
Don't worry, it's tough for us too.
Bill Urbicite began his employment with the city of Riverton. Engineering Department on December 10, 1990. Within 7 years, he became the Public Services Director and Airport Manager, and in the 23-plus years working with the city, Mr. Urbicite filled interim positions such as the City Administrator and Community Development Director, while maintaining his own day-to-day duties and responsibilities as Public Services Director. Mr. Urbicite worked for the city until February 28, 2014. I got to know Bill pretty well when I was on the council from 2011, and really appreciated his dedication to his job. There wasn't, Bill sometimes had a tendency to play the edges on things, but he'd keep the balls all floating in the air. It was just amazing to me how he could do that. But the intent was never to do anything except what was in the best interest of the city. I don't know what else I can say. Just hard. I don't know if Bill will be able to enjoy that or not.
We'll enjoy it for him.
Good.
Thank you.
I knew that one wasn't going to go well. But Bill's been a good friend to our community, and we just hate to lose him under such terrible circumstances as these. And we're losing two good men. Paul is going off into greener pastures, and he's going to do more fishing and more hunting. And so thank you for all your service, Paul. We really appreciate it. Yeah. So, Lars, we'll see you later. Okay. At this time, we have a Mayor's Proclamation, National Services Recognition Day, April 1st, 2014, and Councilman Christensen has agreed to read this proclamation for me at this time. I appreciate that very well. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mayor's Proclamation. Whereas service to others is a hallmark of American character and central to how we meet our challenges, and whereas the nation's mayors are increasingly turning to national service and volunteerism as a cost-effective strategy to meet city needs, and whereas national service participants address the most pressing challenges facing our cities, from educating students for the jobs of the 21st century and supporting veterans and military families, to providing health services and helping communities recover from national disasters. And whereas national service expands economic opportunity by creating more sustainable, resilient communities and providing education, career skills, and leadership abilities for those who serve. And whereas national service participants serve in more than 60,000 locations across the country, bolstering the civic, neighborhood, and faith-based organizations that are so vital to our economic and social well-being. And whereas national service participants increase the impact of the organizations they serve with, both through in their direct and service and by recruiting and managing millions of additional volunteers. And whereas national service represents a unique public-private partnership that invests in community solutions and leverages non-federal resources to strengthen community impact and increase the return of our taxpayer dollars. And whereas national service participants demonstrate commitment, dedication, and patriotism by making an intensive commitment to service, a commitment that remains with them in their future endeavors. And whereas the Corporation for National and Community Service shares a priority with mayors nationwide to engage citizens, improve lives, and to strengthen communities. And in joining with the National League of Cities, City of Service, and mayors across the country to recognize the impact of service on the Mayor's Day of Recognition for National Service on April 1st, 2014. Therefore, be it resolved that, Your Honor, would you like to read that last paragraph?
Well, that's fine. Go ahead.
On behalf of the mayor, therefore, be it resolved that I, Ronald O. Mortis, Mayor of the City of Riverton, do hereby proclaim April 1st, 2014 as National Service Recognition Day and encourage residents to recognize the positive impact of national service to our city, to thank those who serve, and to find ways to give back to their communities.
Thank you very much. When I had originally looked at that proclamation, I thought that had to do with the entire month of April, so I hope they're not offended that they got a shortened day by us just giving it this late in the evening. But I think we all should, are very supportive of the service and volunteerism that happens in our community. There's just any number of organizations and groups that just would not be possible without the volunteers that we have in our community. And so anything we can do to elevate their position in a prestigious way is the right thing to do. So I'm very proud to sign that proclamation. So thank you very much again, Mary Ellen. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay, at this time, we have a public hearing in consideration of liquor transfer from Back Bar Incorporated to the Creole Cowboy, LLC, DBA, Miss Jenny's Roost in Riverton. Acting City Administrator's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The City Clerk's Office received an application for a retail liquor license transfer. It's for Creole Cowboy LLC, doing business as Miss Jenny's Roost from Riverton. The application is complete, the fee has been paid, and the certification it's been certified by the Liquor Commission.
Okay. Chair would entertain a motion for the public hearing.
Your Honor, I would move to open public hearing regarding the transfer of liquor license to the Creole Cowboy LLC at this time.
Okay.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to open the public hearing. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I now declare the public hearing is open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to speak at this public hearing?
Seeing none, Your Honor, I would move to close public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Public hearing is closed. The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the liquor license transfer at this time.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion to approve the liquor license for the transfer of the liquor license to the Creole Cowboy.
Okay,
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion on this transfer? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Mayor votes aye. Motion carries. Next one is a public hearing, proposed master plan discussion for Honor Farm property. Community Development Director's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. On September 17th last year, the council held a public hearing and approved Resolution 1281 to authorize the mayor to sign a contingency and development agreement for a business-ready community grant to the Wyoming Business Council for a business park on the Honor Farm property. On March the 4th, members of the Business Council visited Riverton to review our grant application, and in order for the staff to recommend approval for this project, they requested that more input from the public and the City Council be provided as to the future plans for this business and commercial park. They wanted to make sure that there was public discussion of the plan that was presented in the grant application. The attached plan is a broad conceptual plan that presents one possibility for future development of the 300 acres of the Honor Farm that IDEA has proposed acquiring from the state of Wyoming. The discussion tonight is not to determine if we move forward, because that has already been determined when we applied for the grant. The discussion tonight is for the citizens to comment on the conceptual plan related to zoning and street layout. This discussion requires no action by the council. The North IDEA Inc. put together some more information for this park conceptual plan. The north side of Riverton contains the only viable land for a large retail and business park due to the nature of Riverton's location and surroundings. To the south and east of Riverton, right on the borders of the existing city limits, is tribal land, which is not open for development. On the west side of the city, there's a patchwork of private and tribal lands with very limited access to large parcels. The north side of Riverton is the only direction for growth in Riverton for any significant business parks, and this is the best opportunity to bring this land into private hands from the Department of Corrections. The long-term development of this entire area as a business and retail park has not been contemplated in the past. There was a small section of it that was, but not this entire area. The land was not included as part of the city's master plan because it is Department of Corrections property and is not available at this time for development. Senate File 90 changed the future opportunities for this land, and it now can be considered for future development. The City of Riverton is just now beginning the process of revising the master plan and looking at some potential roads, and we will include this in this land in the revision. With this opportunity in hand, IDEA plans to work with the city and the neighbors to develop a long-term master plan for the site that will promote business growth in the area on both sides of the highway. It is the intent of IDEA to work with the city and the neighbors, such as the Honor Farm, to develop an overall vision for the property and then seek developers who would be able to bring the businesses to the site that would fulfill the vision and fit within the master plan for the city. IDEA at this time does not plan to add infrastructure such as roads, power, water, sewer to the site. The capacity of the sewer treatment plant and the water treatment plant in Riverton are sufficient to handle any future development. In the mid-'80s, Riverton's water and sewer plants were expanded to handle the load of a city approximately 30,000, 3 times the current population. The intent of IDEA is to make the land available at a reasonable rate and have developers build the infrastructure according to the master plan and a vision for the property. There are many possibilities for the site as far as development is concerned. The following 3 aerial photos show the proposed zoning for the area, which is what's on the screen at this time, which now is zoned entirely agricultural. The second photo is a simple grid layout for some major roads that is a suggestion for within the site. These roads would also be utility easements for water, sewer, and power, and so on. And our third layout is shows a possibility of things that could happen to that piece of property. The layout shows development throughout the property with larger buildings towards the back of the property and not on the main highway. Developing the property in this manner would help realize the full potential of this large piece of property. Finally, the portion of land that currently contains the Wyoming Modelers Park Association would be sold to a developer under the condition that the park be rebuilt at another location of the membership's approval and to their specifications. In order to preserve this important activity center for the community, IDEA realizes that they may have to sell this piece of land at a significant discount in order to allow for the continuation of the Modelers Park. Mr. Christofferson is here, and he can answer any other questions that anyone may have.
Okay. Why don't we go through the process of getting into a public hearing, and then we'll hear from Phil, just in order to keep our attorneys happy. So the chair would entertain a motion for the public hearing at this time.
Your Honor, I would move to open public hearing regarding the master plan for the Honor Farm property at this time.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I now declare the public hearing is open. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes and other applicable laws. I would ask those individuals wishing to address the council to approach the podium and identify yourself for the record. Mr. Christofferson.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I'm Phil Christofferson, the Economic Development Director for City of Riverton. I work for IDEA Inc., who is looking to obtain this land from the Department of Corrections. And so this is one possibility for a zoning map. The possibilities are endless, but the Business Council asked for some possibilities, so that's the purpose of tonight, to see what people may have to say about having this large of an area zoned commercial. Perhaps it all needs to be zoned commercial, maybe more residential. That's the question we need to address. What do the citizens want to see in this area? The roads here are just a simple grid layout where the utilities could be laid, and then this is just an example of some of the development that could take place in the area. IDEA Inc. has not been approached by any developers. We have nobody in mind to go here. Our whole goal is to get this public land into private hands so that it can be developed. For perspective's sake, this mall here, this is a to-scale drawing. This is the Casper Mall, Eastridge Mall. That's how it would look on this property. These strip malls are just pulled out of the development that's going on the east side of Casper and just pasted on here just to see how it would all fit for perspective. So that gives you an idea of the kind of development that could take place in there. in conversations with city staff, we feel it would be important to put the development further away from the highway in this area and move it back, just like what they've done on the east side of Casper, to fill out that area and make it a better shopping, better residential, better district for the growth of Riverton. So that's the question, and what we are basically asking is, does this look good?
Certainly looks good to me. Excuse me. As I recall, this is what we used to call the land swap. This piece of ground here, is that correct?
That was this area right in this, right here.
Okay, so it was just a very small part of.
Yeah, the land swap was just a small area. I'm not sure exactly how big it was, but it was a fairly small area. This is for the entire 300 acres.
Yes.
Stretching from Webwood right here all the way north to Honor Farm Road here.
I know that's something that the city has been working on for years, and I know a lot of people relate that to that land swap thing, and that's the only reason that I bring it up. I realize that it's considerably different than what it was at that time, but I think it's just a wonderful idea, and I want to compliment Idea Incorporated and your efforts on it, Phil.
Thank you. In looking at the zoning map, I would be curious to see what the council thinks. Is this an adequate, first look at it? Would this provide future growth? Should there be industrial in there, or more residential, or does this look pretty good proportion-wise?
Your Honor.
Councilman have any comments? Yes, Councilman Guard.
Mr. Christopherson, that ground that lies to the east in the north corner, is that still Honor Farm right there?
Right here?
No, back where you're,
Here?
right there. Is that still Honor Farm?
That's private.
It's private, okay.
Yep, that's all private.
I think for a general usage, I think that's about as well stated as you can look in your crystal ball and see, so.
And once it's, I'm glad to see the city's moving forward with including this in the master plan, because once a developer moves in and starts wanting to develop an area, the master plan will help guide where that development's going to go. Whether it's a Target or a Marshall's or something like on the east side of Casper, that can help draw that traffic off of the Federal Boulevard back into that area. So including this eventually in the master plan will be a very important thing. And I'll be here for questions if anybody has.
Okay.
Your Honor?
Yes,
I do
Councilman
have one
Christensen.
question. We've had, it's been several years ago, but we had a developer or two here. I recall some figures about the need for housing, and maybe, I don't know if George has those or whatever, but what is the need for residential housing in this area in the next projected 20 years?
I do not know those numbers off the top of my head. George might be a better one to address that.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure. I just remember the people talking about that. I don't recall the figures, but
Sorry, George.
George Piplican, I'm on IDING's board. Our input definitely is this needs to have some residential input. We think backing commercial and residential and moving some big box stuff more to the back is enticing to allow some growth. That we've got some residential on the east and south of Webwood Road there, which would help too, and it might help the Weber property and some of that down there continue to grow into residential. So allowing the commercial to stay the highway frontage and build off of that and have some portion of this residential and then have other private sectors of land that could grow that way. Riverton definitely has to grow towards the north and doing that. Then looking across the highway, it's pretty well laid out that way where you have the Hampton and the Comfort Inn. That's all commercial, pretty much designed. But behind that, or you'd access it off of Webwood as well as it will future layout to more residential and take it all the way out towards Country Acres Road and that way. So, so I think that fits really well with our master plan. And any major 300-acre parcel can't be all commercial. I don't like industrial out there. I think we can do industrial. That's what the city has the airport park for, and some areas that we have down off of Webwood off of Major, and that's our industrial sites. And then we have some land off of Monroe and Smith Road and gravel areas. Those are our commercial industrial sites, and there's plenty of land to develop in those areas. So from my, if you will, my real estate perspective, I think it's a great looking layout. So,
George, how many acres is that residential? Approximately, I don't know.
What are we thinking, 30, 35, something like that? I think so.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
So, and part of that is that's more of a private road instead of a highway frontage, and you want residential access off the Webwood, not the front corridor of a commercial highway. You want to kind of keep that in that direction. And then we have more residential developing on Riverview, and you know, with the Riverview project, I think that opens a lot of doors to residential, the new school, things like that. Going in those corridors opens more opportunities for more residential growth in those markets that wasn't there, or the roads weren't adaptable to that. I think that extension really helps Riverton in those potentials. So,
thank you.
Bet. Thanks.
Any other questions? I'd just like to comment that when I see things like this, it makes me very excited about the possibilities that it holds for Riverton. We all talk about, and we have a number of people that come before the city council, and they want to have a rec center. It's something like this that will build a rec center. It's only through this kind of growth in our community will you get a rec center. You can't build a rec center and expect it to pay for itself. It just will not do it. And you know, we can be very supportive of recreation and on, but you can't pay for a recreation center out of a recreation center. But this is the kind of thing that can build that for our community. And I could even see a multi-event center or something back in that area, which would work. And there goes Mr. Moore grinning at me again. Well, we all have our agendas, I guess. So what do you do? But I think as far as our community is concerned, it's those kind of things that can spin off the monies that will make a lot of things possible in our community. And and that seems to be the coin of the realm, is how are you going to pay for it? And it doesn't matter what the issue is that you're talking about. And it was only through the efforts of I think the city getting land swap started, the idea, and pushing that, and realizing that it didn't have a lot of traction, and then getting Senator Bieber on board with it and changing state legislation so that the Honor Farm can sell that property now and be able to use that money that they sell the property for to purchase other property that they need. I think that was the linchpin there that made it happen. And then ID Incorporated stepping forward at this point in time, you know, is just a great, good job. I'm impressed, but hope it happens. I really do, Phil. Anyone else have any comments?
Seeing none, Your Honor, I would move to close the public hearing at this time.
Thank you.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I now declare that the public hearing is closed. And it's my understanding we don't need any action on this at this time. Is that correct? Okay, thank you.
Your Honor,
Thank you very much, Phil.
you have one question. I'm
Oh, darn.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Phil, so what's the next step? So, what's the next step in the process?
Okay, the next step in the process is the SLIB staff is reviewing the application. They're reviewing an appraisal that has been completed on the property. Once they're done with that review, they'll move on to a as far as I understand it, the public hearing phase, where the SLIB staff will come and hold a public hearing, probably in this room, to get public input on the idea of moving this land out of the public domain into private hands.
Why don't you tell us what SLIB is?
SLIB is the State Loan or State Land and Investment Board, depending on how they meet. The board itself consists of the 5 highest elected officials in the state, but there's a staff that supports them, and it's the staff that's reviewing this application. After the public hearing, they'll move forward to the land disposal phase, which will be a public auction. The auction won't be there with an auctioneer, but they'll take sealed bids for the parcel of land, and the highest bid wins. The lowest bid that they will take is the appraised value of the land. Since this is Department of Corrections land, the Department of Corrections will have some input as to how much land actually is on the auction block, and time-wise, and they will ultimately be the recipients of the funds, so they can go and purchase more land or do more operations, whatever they want.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, Phil. Okay. Agenda item number 12 is the Force Committee recommendation, miscellaneous concrete project bid award. Interim Public Service Director, report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. The Fix Our Roads Citizens Committee, otherwise known as the Force, basically asked the staff to come up with recommendations of streets that were in disrepair and what type of treatments would be needed for them to be fixed. The Force Committee wanted to look at the town as the city as a whole rather than look at one particular neighborhood. They wanted to spread the money around that was gathered for the 1 cent. Staff developed a spreadsheet that listed what we thought would help further prolong the life of the street, and the Force Committee decided to focus first off on the concrete for the curb gutter, valley gutters, sidewalks, and that stuff. We then presented that list and gave that to a consultant. They designed the project, and earlier last month, you allowed us to go ahead and go out for bid for that project. And we had 4 contractors who bid on that project. The project was advertised for bid in February 23rd and March 2nd. We had 4 contractors look at it and received bids from those. The bids were open on March 10th with the results of Major Equipment out of Riverton. Had $944,083. 71 out of Riverton had $1,445,801.10. Dave's Asphalt out of Riverton had $992,049, and Patco out of Idaho Falls had $1,147,230. And the staff reviewed the bid results to assure that the bid was responsive and presented the results to the Force Committee. At the March 17th meeting of the Force, they did vote to recommend to the City Council to award the bid to Major Equipment in the amount of the $944,083. We currently do have that amount of money in our 1 cent fund. It is currently at $1,124,945.32.
Okay, thank you. The chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the Force Committee recommendation.
Your Honor, I'd make the motion to approve the Force Committee's recommendations for the miscellaneous concrete projects.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Your Honor, I'd like to note that I'll be abstaining from the discussion and the vote on this, as I have a family member employed by the low bidder. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I think we've come a long way with that project. I recall Ms. Bollinger challenging the council, wanting to spend Force money that we didn't have, and it's nice to have over $900,000 in the account that we can just write to fix our roads and our streets. Gosh, what a blessing it really is. It's just good job. And I think it makes a lot of sense, the direction that the Force Committee is taking to look at the overall and get the best price and whatnot. So it seems like an awful lot of money, but it's an awful lot of work too that needs to be done in the city. And it's great to be moving forward in this big a chunk. So I'm very happy for that. Any other comments that anyone would like to make? Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor at this time. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Agenda item number 13 is consideration of the Airport Task Force. Acting City Administrator's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. In mid-February, on your behalf, we sent a letter out to the surrounding communities, Fremont County, and the tribes, asking if they would like to participate in a task force. And initially, the task force was to talk about creating a joint powers board. Since that time, the focus has changed to reliable air service and also seek grant opportunities. So in response to your letter, we did receive some requests back to participate. There is a one seat per entity sitting on that board, and this is just letters that they've sent. It's still up to the council to appoint that task force. Right now is Paul Griffin, airport manager, and Stephen Weaver for the city of Riverton. Richard Gard as well for Riverton. Stephanie Kessler is county commissioner. Cade Maestas, Lander council member. Gary Hamblin, pavilion mayor. Ken Kundal, Shoshone council member. Phil Christopherson from Idea Inc. Missy White from Leeds, and I understand she was just nominated or asked to be the chair of that committee. Mike Anderson, town of Hudson, and we have not received representatives from Arapaho or Shoshone tribes, but I'm sure they will come to the table. So we just simply need minute action forming that task force with those names.
That's correct. This is just a formal agreement that to give them the authority to move forward as a committee. And so it got off to a little bit of a rough start there, but I think we're on track now, and we have a good team together. Everyone is very excited about coming to some resolution. I'm not exactly sure what the resolution is. It seems like air service is kind of an endemic industry-wide problem that they're having. I talked to Chuck Howell, the CEO of Great Lakes, the other day, and he understands the problem that we have. He understands our concerns. He's doing everything he can to address them, and it is what it is. We're just going to have to get through this rough spot, but it's really important that we keep our air service here. We've got a beautiful airport up there, and we spend a lot of time and money on it, and we need to do everything we can to keep it. My strong feeling was when we put this task force together was to be inclusive of the entire county. It includes Du Bois, it includes Pavilion, it includes Hudson, it includes Shoshone, and there just wasn't any way that I was prepared to just have a small group come together and throw everybody else under the bus, and that I just wasn't willing to do. And so we had to back up there a little bit, but it's moving forward now, I think, and have a very good group. It's a little larger than probably many of us would like. If I didn't have quite so many councilmen here, I wouldn't have so many problems either. But that's not the world we live in. And so we each have differences of opinion on how we do things, and we have to work within those constraints. So, and I hope no one takes that in a way that it wasn't intended. It was just a humorous aside that we do have differences of opinion occasionally, and even my wife and I have those problems. So at any rate, I'm looking forward to some good things coming out of the airport task force, and with this vote this evening, why that will give them the authority to move forward. So the chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the task force at this time.
Your Honor, I would move to approve the formation of the Mayor's Airport Task Force at this time.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor votes aye. Okay, resolutions for WHAM. Acting City Administrator's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Was the timer, did that timer go off for me?
No, I don't know what
It's
that
just
meant.
getting started.
It was my computer.
It's not ticking, so.
Your Honor, per council's directive about a month ago, we discussed possible resolutions for the Wyoming Association of Municipalities. And if you recall, and for our public viewing audience as well, WHAM solicits resolutions from communities based upon any issues that they have or would like to see changed through the legislature. And every year at WHAM convention, they address these resolutions that communities have submitted. It doesn't mean that they'll be passed. It doesn't even mean that they'll even be discussed at sometimes. It just means that someone is bringing an idea forth. It's worthy of a discussion. It's worthy of a conversation. And last year, the city, I believe, sent in 2 resolutions. One was the beer tax, which hasn't been changed since 1935. It's 2 cents a gallon, and the resolution we have in front of you tonight is recommending changing it to 28 cents a gallon, which is a national average. The other one is a local optional sales tax. We are simply suggesting that maybe municipalities have the authority through their voters and their geographic area to impose a tax and not have it go countywide. So that is a second one that we will be submitting on your behalf from last year, since neither one of those made it into place. The third one is unemployment. Organizations in the state of Wyoming are charged unemployment charges based on a reimbursable rate or a tax-based rate. On a tax-based rate, you have the right to protest whether you want to pay those unemployment charges or not once an employee leaves your employment. So what the city has faced is, if we had someone like Paul Throckmorton retire and go get a job, and 2 months later Paul was terminated, he could file unemployment and the charges would come back to the city because we're a reimbursable based employer. Same thing is if there is misconduct on behalf of an employee and they are terminated, then they can get another job, be fired from that job, and again, those charges come back to the city to be paid. So we are simply suggesting that maybe the state look at the way that we can protest charges once in a while when we feel that it was beyond our control. And believe it or not, that would save us a lot of money. Another one is a liquor license control. Right now, according to state statutes, there's 2 ways we can suspend a retail liquor license. One is if they fail to pay sales tax, it can be suspended then. The other one is, excuse me, I forgot. If they don't serve my kind of beer. No, I was just kidding.
Oh dear.
I'm sorry. No, Stephen would never say that. What was the other one? The other one,
Selling to minors.
selling to minors. Well, actually, that isn't the other one. The other one is if we choose not to renew their license.
That's correct.
Right? So those are the 2 options. What we're suggesting is that maybe if there are some legal infractions that is on that premise, that maybe the council could temporarily suspend that retail liquor license. So that's all we're suggesting for discussion at WAMP is a resolution. And the last one, another one is the recreation. And recreation districts that are formed in the state of Wyoming, we have found that it's based on certain amounts of money. So for instance, per student, the ratio the rate per student can be at $7 or it can be at $2,000. So we're simply proposing to WHAM that there be a little bit more equitability when it comes to the formula based on recreation districts and the money that they receive. So we have submitted these 5 resolutions for you to consider tonight, and that is just to pass them on to WHAM and have WHAM consider them. And you can vote on them individually, you can vote on them all together, whatever your preference.
Okay. Thank you, Courtney. How would the council prefer to handle the, do you want to vote on them as a mass, or would you prefer to separate them out? I think there's a feeling on the council that we would like to separate them out, at least one of them, or I have no problem if you want to just take them by the numbers and go through them and just vote them up or down.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Could we do the public hearing in mass and then discuss each one individually after that?
I don't think there's a public hearing that's required on this.
Oh, there's not?
No.
So.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Although didn't we suggest that we would have public input on these?
No, we will have public input on it. Yes.
So you're not going to do that through a public hearing? We're not going to do that through a public hearing?
If we were to do it in mass, then whoever would come forward would speak on whichever one they wanted to talk about.
So your suggestion is we'll just do it
so
individually?
So you could get that input there, and then we could vote on them in mass, or, but no, we...
individually works. I just wanted to know how.
Yes.
We needed to prove it
That's the way I envision it.
Okay, thank you.
It's however you folks would prefer to do it. If you just want to, let's go with resolution number 1291, the malt beer tax. Chair would entertain a motion to accept resolution number 1291.
Your Honor, I would move to approve resolution 1291.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Your Honor, this is what I've been thinking about. This is the 4th year we've put this on.
This has been on a lot longer than that.
I understand why we're doing it. We need to raise this tax. But I think is it about 70% tax increase thereabouts from 2 to, that's just in my head, maybe I'm wrong,
No,
but it's a big tax
It's
increase.
significantly more than that. It's,
but
percentage-wise, it's a huge increase.
Yeah. My suggestion is, can we take little steps? I mean, we get it turned down year after year after year after year. Why don't we start with something small? That would be my recommendation. I mean, I guess we just keep getting it turned down, but I think people do understand that it does have to come up a small amount every little bit. I just think that's something to look at. I apologize for missing that meeting that we did discuss this, but if we take little steps and then maybe this would get passed, some of that money will be generated to funneled towards what everybody wants it funneled for. And I think people understand that taxes have to go up. That's 1935. I mean, it's the liquor tax hasn't gone up, or the liquor since 1935 the same day. And I don't know, it's something to consider. If you really, we're not getting anything now. Maybe a little bit would be better than nothing.
Okay, is there any other comments?
Thank you.
Your Honor, you might help me with the numbers. What was it per, didn't you break that down per 6-pack? Or,
well,
you remember those numbers?
I hate to beat a dead horse here.
Go right ahead.
And, you know, but this is just something that I've been down and testified before a legislative committee on the issue, and I don't think it's a problem with the amount. I don't think that's the issue at all. I think it has to do with any tax they're opposed to. And I think if you were to raise it, right now the tax on a case of beer is 4.5 cents. Okay? If you have a carton of cigarettes, the tax on a carton of cigarettes is $6 right now. And to weigh those two, and you don't have people being killed on the highways with cigarettes, you know, or people beating each other up in their homes and having all sorts of abuse over cigarettes. But we do over alcohol. And so it just seems to me like it would be a way to a new revenue stream, normally in revenue streams, whenever you divert money from one to the other, the person you're diverting it from howls like a mashed cat because you're taking money away from him, and then you're also may or may not be increasing it somewhere else. So, but I really have never gotten the feeling that it was the amount of the increase. The national average is 28 cents a gallon across the United States. There are some states that have significantly more than that. There are states that have over $1 a gallon of tax, where we've got 2 cents a gallon. And when you go out to a bar and you buy a beer and set it on the table, and the beer costs you 4.5 or whatever, and there's just a fraction of a cent of tax on that. It takes 10.5 beers in order to make 2 cents in tax. So I personally don't think that it's the dollar amount. To ask about the time that we've been pushing this, it's been, I remember talking about it when I was on the council in 2000. So it's been around a lot longer than 6 years or 4 years. But it's an indication of the resistance of liquor dealers, the resistance of the lobbying effort on their behalf and whatnot, and just the culture that we have in Wyoming regarding that. Apparently the cigarette industry doesn't have the protection because they're getting whacked. I hear what you're saying, but and incrementally, I suppose that if this tax was put in place in 1935, and so we could raise it to 4 cents, which would be 100% increase. It's a huge percentage increase, and it would only take another 80 years to get another 4 cents. Well, come on, you guys, give me a break. We've got serious alcohol problems in our communities, and there are many people around the state that feel that Riverton is just trying to raise this tax just to fund the problems that we're having here in Riverton. And yet you talk to the police department and the highway patrol and on, and it's just not accurate. Statistically, it's just not accurate. But I don't disagree that you feel like you're banging your head against the wall. But Mr. Mosier is one of the most congenial individuals you'll ever run into. He's the lobbyist for the liquor industry, and he does just a wonderful job with it, and is very good at it. But if anything will happen, I don't know. Last year we got, is my understanding from Patrick Goggles, a representative, that there was 2 votes for it when he presented it, and this year we got 19 votes. So we're making headway. And if it had been anything but the shortened session, why, maybe it would have stood a chance. And so that's why I'm optimistic that maybe this time, if we go ahead and try one more time, the need is not going away. The Volunteers of America and the work that they're doing down at our crisis center now is, they're making a lot of headway, but the need is so great compared to what the little bit of money that's being generated by the 2 cents a gallon. I think it's something like $256,000, which seems like a lot of money, but when you look at the other side of the equation of the damage that it's causing societally, it's not a scratch in the bucket. So I just feel that they could step up and help cover the cost a little bit. So
The other suggestion I have, if we're going to raise this, and is there a reason the liquor tax doesn't go up also? Just why is it just being...
It's my understanding that they are taxed, and that is increased incrementally.
No, not since 1935.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
so that's what doesn't make sense to a lot of people. Is why one versus the other.
I've tried to stay out of that discussion for that very reason, that it confuses the issue.
Yeah. Your Honor?
Yes.
Does this tax of 28 cents a gallon, does that go into the general fund, or is that a specific and come back to the city or to the cities on a proportional basis?
It's my understanding that it's redistributed back through the regular revenue process and back to the communities based on population.
Okay. So it's just like another revenue stream.
Yes.
But that wouldn't, by any sense of the mean, cover the problem that we have here in Riverton, would it?
No.
That amount of funds?
No, it would not.
Okay. So when we say we want to do it incrementally, I'm surprised that we're looking at 28 cents state average. Why wouldn't we look at the state of New York or something like that for our model, where a pack of cigarettes costs $12? I mean, the amount of problems that we have in this city, and the city is located specifically close to areas that are injured greater than any other areas, and we're looking at 28 cents a gallon.
My feeling is that something's better than nothing. I mean, we can't.
That's the way I feel.
We have
something is better than nothing.
Well, that's why I thought if we start small, at least maybe there's a better chance of getting
Your Honor.
something.
Yes, Councilman Gard.
Just for public comment, these are just resolutions that WHAM, the Wyoming Association of Municipalities, would back or would not back. And they're just suggestions that are sent down, and then WHAM takes them apart and reorganizes them and puts their evaluation on those and takes them apart. I was rather pleased with the editorial that Mr. Peck put in the paper, and I think we are moving forward. And I do agree, having been down there to WHAM and discussed this with the legislators, it's not the amount that's on it. It's just the movement to move the tax forward. And when it's surprising that we seem to have a problem raising a tax on liquor, but we don't have a problem raising tax on gas. Mm-hmm. And we can make a list of what we don't have a problem with raising taxes on. Mm-hmm. And I do believe it's exactly what you've stated is they have a wonderful lobbying organization, and no movement there has just been impressive. And so where taxes have gone up everywhere, these need to catch up. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any other comments anyone would like to make? Okay. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor at this time regarding Resolution 1291 dealing with the beer tax. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
And Mayor votes aye. Okay, the next one is Resolution 1292 dealing with the local option sales tax. Would you want to describe what that is again, Courtney?
Certainly. Right now, Your Honor, under state statutes is when there is a local option sales tax that the voters of Fremont County just passed last year, is it takes 2/3 the majority of the communities in that county to bring that to the voters on a ballot. This is simply suggesting that we change that to where the municipalities can put it to a vote of their voters geographically. So someone in Du Bois could not vote on a project or an optional sales tax here in the city of Riverton unless they were a resident and a qualified voter.
Okay, thank you. I guess to put a little finer point on it, the presentation that we just had this evening by Mr. Christofferson on the land development out there, if this resolution could get passed at the state level and into state law, the monies generated off of this piece of land would come back to Riverton if the citizens would vote to increase a 1% optional tax in Riverton for, say, a rec center. And we could have that income here. 70% of it, the way it is now, when you send your taxes down to Cheyenne, when you go out to Walmart or wherever and buy something, and you send $1 in taxes down to Cheyenne, Cheyenne keeps 70 cents out of $1, and they send 30% back to us, as I remember. And then that 30% comes back to the county, and it's redistributed to the county based on population. So out of that 30 cents that we get back about 8.5 cents was one figure I heard. And that's on $1 in taxes. Now, if we can get this passed, then it would just be a huge opportunity for the citizens of Riverton. If you want to have a recreation center, then we could impose it on ourselves. It'd cost us an extra penny each time we buy it. But just as we're spending $900,000 on our streets, we could be spending that money on a new recreation center. And people that come and purchase things in Riverton would help us pay for it. And I think, without these kinds of things in place, but we can't do it on our own. The way state statute is right now, we physically can't do it. We have to ask the entire county, will you all vote for a rec center in Riverton? And I can hear the laughter in Pavilion or Jackson. I mean, it's not going to happen. So that's what this resolution, the local option sales tax, is all about. So it's an opportunity for us, and hopefully we'll be able to make it through. But it's another one of those things that's going to be difficult.
Your Honor?
Yes, Councilman Guard.
There is a different split on the 5th penny and the 6th penny, different than the first 4.
Is there? Okay.
And so we do retain more of the 5th and the 6th than we do of 1 through 4. And so that's important to us also.
Oh yeah, well
that's why we're retaining more of this. That money's adding up on the 5th cent quicker for us also. This didn't get past WHAM last year, and it probably won't get past. But it's a wonderful idea for us because we have split municipalities. And when you talk about it for the rest of the state, I think there's only 3 counties that fall into this problem that have large sectors of voting population. When Natrona County goes to the polling booth, nobody outpolls Casper. And so Casper gets what it wants, and the surrounding community lives with that. And yet we're fairly equally split, and it makes it difficult to get anything passed. I'm not for additional taxes. I'm not for the 6 cent, but I think that municipalities have and should have that right to make that decision on their own. And so I think it's a really good option to put forward, especially for those 3 counties. The other one that comes to mind is Cody and Powell, and they're really struggling under it. They can't pass the 5th cent, and they're the only county in the state that still can't get that 5th cent passed, and so they really do struggle. So I think it's a good resolution. Your Honor.
The chair would entertain a motion regarding local option sales tax resolution number 1292.
Your Honor, I would move to approve the resolution number 1292 for presentation to WHAM.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, we've got one nay vote. Mayor votes aye. Okay, resolution number 1293, recreation dollars more equitable. As I recall, this was an issue that was brought forward by Craig Blumenshine, and it was something I'd never understood, and I'm not sure that I still really understand it as good as I should. But recreation dollars apparently are a function of the amount of tax that's generated on the property in the area, in the school district area that they generate their monies in. And so you take a place like Shoshone that generates a lot of tax dollars out in the oil fields and everything out in that area by Lyside, And so that goes back to their local school district, which is Shoshone, which has a very small population. So they're receiving a huge amount of money proportional to their small population compared to, say, Riverton or some of the other communities. We had that information in some of the information that was sent out to us. And this is asking the legislature to try to look at that and see if you can't equalize it a little bit so that everybody gets a proportional share of for our children, and our children are just as important whether they're on the reservation or whether they're in Riverton or whether they're out at Lyside. It doesn't have anything to do with your location, but it seems like the way that our state is and has been divided up over the years, if you're fortunate enough to be born into a rich county, then the chances are very good that you'll have really good schools and on and on and on. And if you're not, why, it's just kind of tough. So this is just an effort to try to have the legislators take a look at it and see if they can't come up with a model that will be a little more fair to everybody concerned. Okay, so the chair would entertain a motion regarding resolution number 1293, recreation dollars.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion to pass resolution number 1293.
Okay.
Recreation dollars.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 1293 regarding recreation dollars being more equitable. Is there discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Your Honor. So what are the chances of this going through?
Probably not very good.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'm a transplant from Salt Lake City, Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Lived in a school district, Jordan School District, which was the base of Utah copper mine. And Jordan School District did this very same thing as Shoshone has done. And we had the nicest, best schools in that district till the state of Utah realized the error of their ways and finally changed and equitably distributed the funds of Utah Copper to the state of Utah versus just to Jordan School District. So the thought being whether it's going to pass or not, it's an equitable way of doing things.
Okay.
Pinedale is another place. Gillette is the third place. Some people are more equitable than others.
Yeah, I agree. Any other comments?
Your Honor, sorry.
Yes.
I just find it interesting that as you look at the list of, amount generated per student, Fremont County has the number one amount generated per student, and Fremont County also has 3 of the bottom 4 amounts generated per student. It's kind of crazy to me that it runs that big of a gamut.
I will read the Fremont 24 at Shoshone has 1 mil, and the amount that it's generating is $623,493. The student enrollment is 299 students, and so per student they're receiving $2,085 per student. In Fremont 38 at Arapahoe at 1 mil, okay, they're generating $2,400 for 336 students, which gives them $7 per student for their recreation funds. Now, how in the world is that equitable? It just...
And then, just to throw Riverton in the mix, it's $155,849 for 2,473 students, which is $63. So Riverton's at 63, Shoshone's at 2,085.
Anyway, just try to smooth out the bumps in the road where you find them, I guess. And I don't disagree, as you pointed out, Councilman Christensen, that it will be very difficult to shift that, around for whatever reason. But I think it's worth the effort. I think it's worth tilting at windmills occasionally. But
Your Honor.
yes, Councilman Guard.
This again is the same funding mechanism as we used to have for our school districts. And we changed the funding for the school districts, and we can probably change the funding for recreation. The problem that a lot of us that don't like to enhance government is, are they going to spend it correctly? And yet, the students are students of Wyoming and not necessarily students of Riverton or Pinedale or where else. And so I think it's a good point. It's worked well for the school districts to reclassify their districts, and I think it would help in the rec board also, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I think we have a motion and a second on the floor regarding recreation tax dollars more equitable. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
Mayor votes aye. Okay, and then we've got we've missed a number, so we must have taken one off of the.
Oh, we jumped.
Yes. Resolution number 1295, unemployment. And could you describe what that is again, briefly?
Yes, Your Honor. In a nutshell, this resolution just is going to hopefully bring a discussion with the municipalities about a way to help municipalities lower their unemployment costs through a right to protest.
Okay, thank you. The chair would entertain a motion regarding resolution number 1295.
Your Honor, I would move for approval of resolution 1295 for presentation to WAM.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman Guard.
This is a really hard topic to discuss for all those that have employees. I'm surprised that the municipalities are coming so late to the table, and they'd like the rules changed for them. We'd all like the rules changed, and I think it's something that we really need to take a look at, and that it's extremely costly for industry and for the municipalities to continue to hold these percentages, and you hardly ever win a case, no matter how you approach it. And so I think it's a good idea for the legislature to take a look at this and hear some of the feedback of how these things affect the cities and the towns. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. It's my understanding that this will apply to all employers wanted across the state. Is that what our intent is, or it only to municipalities?
Our intent is Your Honor, I'm sorry. Our intent is if they are a reimbursable organization, yes. So it won't just apply to municipalities. It will apply to everyone in that
The whole load.
basis, yes.
Okay, good.
Good luck.
Okay. The chair would entertain a motion regarding resolution 1295 regarding unemployment.
We already have a motion.
Did we already do that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor votes aye. Okay, and the last one is resolution number 1296, liquor license local control issue. And the chair would entertain a motion regarding this resolution.
Your Honor, I'd make the motion for resolution 1296.
Second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion?
Yes.
Yes, Councilman Christensen.
You answered before me.
Okay.
Some language in this.
Okay.
A few things. Fourth paragraph down. Regarding legal infractions committed by the licensee. So say Susie was at this bar, how can you break that all down? I'm under the assumption that the police business alliance is down that road to work with the liquor license holders. So if this was put into place, I'm just worried about that because it says legal infractions. It's not just for minors, because people are already penalized for minors significantly, aren't they? The police fine them?
Your Honor.
Yes.
So realistically speaking, what happens is if we send in a minor to a alcohol establishment, not the establishment, but the bartender will get a misdemeanor citation for serving to underage minors. I would not say it happens a lot.
Okay.
It's very infrequent, is what I would say.
So I'm worried about this language here about the impose a temporary suspension to licensees for legal infractions committed. So that just leaves that wide open. I'm worried about how that control for the city, and it says here we're not going to close them down, we'll suspend them. So I just don't get this, how this is going to work and how it's going to benefit anything other than give the city the control to suspend licenses for any legal infraction. So we're going to have a whole bunch of new laws that won't stop drunk driving, or I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping that this police business alliance, when they start working with the liquor dealers, as I think is going to happen, will kind of take care of this. That will give us that control and that partnership with the businessmen in the community. They have the liquor commission, they have the police, they have, we renew their licenses, so I just need somebody to explain it to me how that will benefit everybody.
Your Honor.
Doesn't make sense.
Yes, Councilman Guard.
I think this is, I see a lot of liquor dealers in the room, and I appreciate your attendance. I think these are suggestions from the attorney, and we bat this thing around constantly that we have some ability to take a license and suspend a license for a year. And I think this is a positive move. He's trying to say that we really don't have that ability, that we might have the opportunity to close a license down for a few days or a week at the maximum. And so I think this is a real clarification for those that run around and say, oh gee, let's just close down this and close down that. We really don't have that ability. That would be a taking of someone's livelihood. And yet if the police, which I think we need to go back and give that precedence. We've been in those meetings, and I think most of the people in the room are on the side of helping that. And we've never shut down a liquor establishment as far as I can remember. Maybe Captain Murray can tell me something that we might have done that was a negative there.
Your Honor, the only thing I've ever remembered in my 14 years here is we had a very large fight at one of our local establishments, and we closed it down about an hour early. And that's the only time I can remember that that's ever happened. And like I said, it was like for an hour before it was supposed to close.
And I think this is the attorney coming back and trying to give us some guidance as to the real leverage that we may have in the world, that we really don't have that leverage, that we keep tossing around, that we have leverage there. And so I think this is good clarification. I don't think we've ever used it. We wouldn't use it. As far as I know, in the many years I've been in Riverton, it is not our typical way of doing business. Once again, what would need to be said here is this is just a resolution to a WHAM organization, a Wyoming Association of Municipalities. It's probably not going to go anywhere, but it would be a good idea to have some leverage to where you could actually say, you know, let's clean that up and do something different without threatening to take somebody's license from year to year. And I just don't think we have that leverage. Thank you, Your Honor.
Your Honor?
Yes, Councilman Christensen.
So exactly my point. This isn't going anywhere. So we have a beer tax that's not going anywhere, an optional 1% that's not going anywhere, recreation funding that's not going anywhere, and the liquor license. So my resolution would be at some point to say, let's come up with some resolutions that are going to work to solve the problems. It doesn't make sense to me. That's why I'm voting no on this, because it's like, let's make it make sense. Let's make it work. Give the police, I mean, these guys, the chief and his officers have great ideas. I've talked to him about the chief about this problem, and I don't want drunk drivers. I don't want anybody hitting anybody, but I don't know if all this stuff is going to solve those problems. I just want realistic things that are going to work, and I'm hoping next year we come up with some resolutions that are going to solve some problems, plain and simple, and I can vote yes on them.
Your Honor,
Yes, Councilman Fabian.
I have a couple of comments. The first is, I believe that when you see an injustice or a area that needs clarification, you have to bring it forward, because if you don't, it never comes into the public eye. And the idea of only chasing after things that you have an assured outcome on, in my opinion, is a fool's errand. You never know how anything's going to turn out. But when you see something wrong, when you see something that isn't right, you should step forward and you should put it out there. You know, there was a time when the school districts were funded the exact same way as the rec district is today. And that time isn't right now because somebody spoke up. And I think it's our duty to be the people that speak up and say, you know what, this, you know, we're the regulatory agency for liquor licenses, and yet we have no regulatory authority over liquor licenses. How does that make sense? So, to me, you know, chasing after an assured outcome is just makes no sense either. The second thing I would like to say is we have a bunch of people here who obviously wanted to speak to this council, who came forward at the beginning of this meeting for that opportunity, and we assured them that they would get that opportunity, and they've not been given that opportunity, and I don't think that's right. Even if we're not required to have a public hearing, I, for one, you know, we always say, I wish the public would show up and give us their opinion, and they're here.
In deference to the council was given the opportunity to have the discussion. The people in the audience that want to speak on this issue will be given that opportunity to speak. That's not a problem. The other thing is talking about the coming up with resolutions that have merit and that you could vote for. I would like to suggest that all of the council were given the opportunity to put forth their ideas of resolutions that we could support that would be good. And so these were the resolutions that came forward, and I don't know where yours ended up,
Your Honor.
Councilman Christensen.
Your Honor,
Yes.
No, you can't speak until I have my turn.
yes, sir.
As I understand it, I'm the newest kid on the block. And all we have to govern this admittance of a license is past sales tax are in the rears. That's it. Well, we need something, if we're regulating a business, we need something greater than that. I mean, it just, when I'm driving at night and I've been stopped 5 times for looking for DUIs, and they look at me, I open up my window and they shine the light in, they say, oh, go ahead. We need something better than just checking sales tax on issuing liquor permits. I'm sure that the liquor permit is more valuable than sales tax. And they realize that it's more important than that. And they realize that with a business that is not taking care of itself, they'll be out of business. And for us not to want to have the best on any business, if we can help them, we certainly want to. And Rich doesn't want to. He's pro-business 1,000%, and I believe that to be true. But you know, we have a responsibility to the community to have the best that we can, and just to stick our head in the sand and say, well, we haven't come up with a good enough resolution. That's sorry. Thank you.
Your Honor,
Yes,
I
Councilman
may be
Christensen.
sorry and I may be a fool, but when the citizens are watching this on TV and we say at every resolution that it's not going to work, I don't know, that doesn't make sense. Maybe all you are much smarter than me and have the foresight that I do not. But I'm a regular citizen. I don't have the ability to get the privileged information. But I'll tell you right now, the folks sitting out there watching don't get that. So why do we say that at each one?
Why
And
do we-
again,
why
I
do
may
we
be
say
a
what?
fool and I may be whatever you called me, but I know what it's like to sit out there and watch this, and it doesn't make sense to the citizens.
Your Honor.
I just want it to make sense. Plain and simple.
Councilman Fabian.
I'd just like to clarify that I called no one a fool. I said it was a fool's errand
Where?
to chase after resolutions that you thought you had an assured outcome, because there is no such thing. Thank you.
Okay, let's move right on. It's my understanding that Nikki wanted to address the council on this particular issue. Would you like to come forward, please?
How are we doing tonight, Council?
Mr.
Jason
Wood.
Hawk, Bar 10. You know, a while back was assigned to kind of a think group that, you know, some of the council members were a part of that, you know, we've all kind of put our heads together to kind of figure out our alcohol problem here in our community. And, you know, all of us have, you know, kids, loved ones, you know, we adore this community. We hate to see people at risk. We hate to see people with, you know, out drinking and driving in our community. We've, you know, discussed several different ways on, you know, what's going to be beneficial for our community and how we can step up and what we can do. You know, and it seemed like in these meetings, it kind of kept coming back to a point system where the liquor license holders were very accountable for, it almost felt like other people's actions. You know, and we do work hard on our job, and like I said, we want our community to be safe. You know, and with this deal that kept coming up with this point system, you know, a couple of the councilmen told me, you know, without us moving forward in a sense that you know, we have this point system, then the council really has no way when at the end of the year when you guys are renewing license, you know, it was said to me, you know, maybe we'll renew your license because we like you. We don't really like your beard. Maybe we won't renew this particular one. So, you know, their thoughts were that, you know, these things would give you some sort of ground rules. But, you know, looking at this, you know, I'm reading this part here where it says, the city of Riverton deems local license authority, city and towns should have the ability to temporarily suspend a license at their discretion. And it's their discretion part that I think a lot of us here tonight are a little concerned about because, you know, there's not a point system. You guys haven't came up with laws. I mean, you know, there's a lot of us that want to work something out, but I think we're also a little fearful on, you know, the authority that you guys are putting, you know, that, I mean, you can have the ability to change my livelihood. And maybe it's just for a couple days, but can't you do it again in a week from then? I mean, I just feel like it's halfway put together right now, and I really don't think that you should move forward with this particular one until there's a little more discussion on it. And like I said, the good things that came out of this think group is, a lot of the bar owners are united now. We do meet together. The next meeting that we're going to have is going to be with the chief of police, and we're trying to solve some problems. So, I mean, we're on your side, but I think it's some of the language in here that we're concerned about as well. So, I'm not for this, and I don't think a lot of people are this evening as well. And I hope you take that into consideration.
Your Honor, could he explain the point system better?
I don't have paperwork on that point system right now, but it was basically, to have your license hung in a particular part of the bar, and, all the members to be tips certified, which is, I think, a good thing as well, but I think that should be up to the individual bar owners as well. I mean, you guys have a choice of which place that you want to go in and spend money in and support, and so does the rest of the community. And, we know that, and that's why we keep up the way that we do keep up.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman Fabian.
I think your point that perhaps the language in this isn't ideal at this moment is well taken, and I don't disagree with that. That having been said, the purpose of this resolution is not to be a final resolution. It's to present to WHAM an idea. And in that respect, I don't think it's a bad resolution. And I mean, I am a small business owner. Rich is a small business owner. I
am too.
Okay. I know for a fact in my business, I'm a chiropractor. I have a licensing board. I have to meet certain requirements every single year in order to renew that license, and they're very well laid out. And I also, if my business receives a certain number of complaints, my license can be put at risk based on that just as easily as me failing to meet the guidelines that were set forth for me. I know in Rich's line of work, he has somebody who comes out and inspects his work periodically to ensure that it meets certain criteria and guidelines. And there's times, I'm sure, when he's had the opportunity to shut his crew down for a period of time and go back and correct something because the inspector said it needed corrected. And so the idea that somehow having a set of guidelines in place is the equivalent of taking away someone's livelihood is not at all true. I totally agree that the guidelines need to be very clear and they need to be well communicated, and I, for one, would never engage in a practice with any type of business that wasn't that way. But that doesn't mean the idea of letting the regulatory body have authority is a bad one. So that's, I guess, I hope you can kind of understand what I'm saying. I agree, the wording is not perfect, but we have to present something in order to at least get it in the door. I am certain that the state legislature will not pass this as it reads. I can promise you that. So, for one thing, you guys have a really good lobbyist that will make sure that the language was better than this if it ever did pass. So, I mean, us saying that we want to send this to WHAM is a far cry from this becoming law. So, thank you.
Any other comments? Yes.
Your Honor.
Councilman Guard.
I don't want to do that, but I would like to recognize the bar owners and the good help they were. And I wish I could just sit here and enumerate their names off. I don't want to miss somebody. But what I do want to say was the group that we had together was very informative to me and was good information. And I think those bar owners that came, we saw that, and and I guess what Councilman Fabian is trying to point out is if we really did have a renegade bar, which we don't, you would want them regulated. And that's why we regulate other industries, and we don't have one, and we don't want to have one. And yet I want to publicly thank the bar owners that were in those meetings, took time out of their day. What was it, 2 hours at times, maybe 3, that we sat around and bandied all your problems and how you ruined the whole city and tried to put it on your back. And so, I don't think that that's the case. And I think that's what I came out of the room with, was that it takes a whole lot of more effort community-wise to fix the problems that we've got. But it was a great opportunity to meet with the bar owners, and I appreciated the time. I appreciated their time. I appreciated my opportunity to get involved and understand it easier. It's real easy to just come up with a bunch of solutions that you think are going to fix the world, and until you bounce them off somebody, you don't have a sounding board. And I think a little bit of the feedback on the point system, there's other very large communities that are using it, and they think it's useful. And once again, I'm not for regulation. I want solutions to our problem. I don't want regulations. I want solutions. And so I think this, Councilman Fabian is totally correct, that this needs to move forward so that we have the further debate that it needs to have. It will not come out. Even I see this as a great improvement over ours, because the 3 years, going on 4 years of me sitting on this council, every once in a while somebody says, well, we can take their license. Well, that means a whole year until we meet again. If we were to take your license and then not give it back till the next renewal date, that would be a taking, and you wouldn't like that in the least. And we would have totally taken away your livelihood. Where here we're talking about really reducing that threat to maybe a day or so. And we don't have a bar one that fits in that category. And so it is kind of just a down the road, pie in the sky thought, but somehow we've got to get some resolution, or we need to not be the regulating entity. That's the other thing that's come out in this discussion, is why are we the regulators if we don't regulate anything? Yeah. We don't have any pull. If we sent the police out to be to check who was speeding, and then when they identified somebody was speeding, we'd say, no, don't give them a ticket. You don't have the authority to do that. And so I think it has merit, but the wording probably is not everything.
And I think that's the main thing that we're looking at in here. It's just, just having our discretion in there, it just opens it up to almost anything. You know what I mean?
Well, and my only thought to tell you about that is, how have we done with our discretion? We haven't closed anybody down in 40 years that I'm aware of. And so I think you're pretty safe. Okay? And I don't mean that in any vague term. I don't think there's a guy here that's an anti-liquor establishment guy. We're all for you, and we want to help. And we really don't see as the problem after the meeting and having the bartenders. They weren't all there, I might add. Were they? Were all the bartenders at those meetings?
No.
No, they weren't. And so there are some folks that don't want to have any compliance or help at all with the situation. And so I think there is reason for some thought that we may someday need to regulate. With that said, we haven't regulated much, if any.
Your Honor?
Yes, Councilman Fabian.
I'd like to actually propose an amendment to the wording to remove the words "at their discretion" and replace them with "based on well-established criteria."
Or could I help there?
Sure.
Tie it to the police chief. I think that's where we would get our best information, from good data collected from the police department.
How about based on well-established criteria and the recommendation of the local law enforcement.
You're here.
Your Honor,
Is that a second?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just so everyone knows, I think the police chief is working on and correct me if I'm wrong, Officer Murphy, he's working on a police business alliance where he partners a officer with the different businesses who then will hopefully, when the different liquor establishments come on board, the officer will sit down, break down those calls so we have accurate data. So that's all in place. He had a great idea because I think it's wonderful. And the other thing, I don't know if this is the time to do this, but I do want to point out who is here. You got Jason Hawk from Bar 10. You have Mr. Woodward from Woodward's Liquor. You have Bonnie from Bull and Bistro. You have Ricky Larson from Time Out. You've got Jana from Ralph's and Possum Pete's and her daughter. And then you've got the gentleman from Bombers. And then you have the Cedar Bar owner. And I apologize, I do not know your name. And these guys are the ones who are at every meeting, really participating, really doing a good job. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a motion.
Oh, there's June. June and her husband, sorry.
I'm Bonnie Hildner from the Bull and Bistro. I just have a couple comments. First, Your Honor, could you give me in one sentence what is the goal of this resolution?
In one sentence.
Well, maybe two. I'll give you two. What is the goal of this resolution?
I would say it's to give more proportional regulation.
Okay, so...
The way it is now, we
Okay.
have the nuclear option, and that's all.
Okay, so you don't think it's going to address the alcohol problem in Fremont County? The goal is just for more regulation from the city. Am I correct? Am I understanding that correctly?
Sir.
I'm not sure I would subscribe to that.
Oh, okay.
To answer your first question, is it going to solve the alcohol problem? No.
Okay.
If you want to solve the alcohol problem in Fremont County, then you would need something a lot more replete than this.
And I think that was the point for the committee that we worked on, and like Jason said, some of you were there. We want to work on the alcohol problem, but we don't want to take the responsibility totally on ourselves, that it is our fault, our responsibility. And I'm not saying that that's what you're suggesting, but I think that's the perception that's going to come from this, is from the community, that it's going to be our responsibility. And we worked real hard to try to get someone to write some articles of the fact that, you know, that's not the way we see it. We want to solve the problem and be part of the solution, but we don't feel it is our total responsibility for the alcohol problem. But enough of that said. I just wanted to point out, you were talking about small businesses and how you do have rules and regulations. We also have them. We have the health inspector who can shut you down. We have the liquor division who comes in and checks. They can shut us down. And we also have police department. We have laws and rules that we have to abide by. So we do have rules and regulations. And I would like to really see you work on the wording before you try to put this through, so that maybe as the public we can see what you have reworded, because I do agree that the wording is quite generic, quite vague. And I would like to see you not just pass it tonight and we're getting bits and pieces. We would like to, I at least would like to be able to see it and read it and think about it. Because I am the public, not only, you know, an owner that serves alcohol, but as the public of this community. Thank you. Do you have any questions for me?
Any comments?
Your Honor,
Councilman Guard.
do we have to have these resolutions in at a certain date, Courtney?
Yes, Your Honor, they have to be into WAM by April 14th.
14th, so we can come back, work session is the 18th, or the next council meeting is the 18th.
Next council meeting, yes.
So we would be behind on that, right?
Yes.
That resolution. And I don't mind the idea that to change the wording, and even if you wanted to, I really appreciate the mayor's comment. These are ours that we put forward. If anybody else has any idea that what they'd like to see, they can surely put a resolution. A resolution, even when you go to your main affiliation of party affiliation, resolutions are just suggestions. And so we all have those, and I would really like to see how you guys would like to have that worded, how you'd like to have the regulatory. I know how I would like it worded in my industry, and I don't get my way there either. And so we do need to have some wording, but if there would be a mode of, can we turn one in late? Can we tell WHAM that we're going to have one into them on the 18th or 19th? I don't see that they're pressed for time.
Your Honor, we were told absolutely not.
Okay.
But what I can do is offer you an alternative. Since there is a scheduled work session next week, there's no reason why this can't be considered next week with alternate language.
Your Honor, I know that gives you some heartburn to pass something in a work session, but it would give the people and even our staff ability to go back through it and tune the wording up and then review it there.
Mayor, may I suggest, I mean, if you haven't put it through before, does it have to go in this year? It sounds like...
We can put it off for years. I mean, that's not a problem.
Sir, that's not what I'm suggesting. It sounds like the police department's working on some things also. I don't know if it's such a major chaotic affair right now that it has to be this year without maybe a little bit more thought, but you know, you guys will do what you feel, I guess, is best. So,
Your Honor,
thank you. Oh.
I think Bonnie's trying to say, since we haven't ever suspended a license, I mean, maybe next year would be to fine tune it.
Sure.
Exactly. We don't have an issue.
Well, it's, and I apologize for my frustration, but it's one of these things. I think you can tweak the verbiage, and I don't disagree with Mr. Hawk that at their discretion. I caught that as well, and I wasn't enthusiastic about it. But this is in such a formative stage at this time that only if you've been through the process, okay, this is going to get run through a grinder and mangled by the entire state. And when they get through with it, you won't even recognize this probably if it makes it to that stage. So this is just an idea that the city of Riverton is throwing out to try to deal with our problem. You're suggesting that you don't like to be labeled as the cause of all the alcohol problems in Riverton. And I agree, you know, that you shouldn't be. And the businesses that are here and are trying to be good citizens in our community are to be commended, you know, and they're working with the police force. We all want that. It would be wonderful if all of the 33 liquor license holders were in that category, but there are some that aren't. And the way it is now, we don't have the options to deal with except the nuclear option, cut their head off, do away with the license entirely, or don't do anything. And all we're suggesting is that it would be nice to have something, if you have a disobedient child or whatever, to be able to, rather than paddle them on the rear end with your hand, you have to use a belt, or whatever, you know, whatever analogy you want to use. But it just seems to me like alcohol is such a problem in our community that this is just a very small step to try to move that ball forward. I recall when we were having the discussion about opening the numbers of catering permits, that we went through quite a bit. And it was just amazing to me that we changed that 100%. And yet there hasn't appeared to be the backlash, either from the PD or others, that I thought that there may very well be. I'm encouraged by that. So we want to work with you people. We don't want to be, ogres that are trying to do away with all alcohol. That's not the case at all.
I guess, Your Honor, in due respect, maybe from my perspective, I'm seeing it the way the community is going to see it also. Like, we must have a problem because all of a sudden we've got to do this. And my last comment, and I promise I'm done, I'm finished, is I look at it this way. If we're going to try to put it through, and even if you think it's not going to go through and they're going to twist it and turn it, let's at least give it our very, very best shot.
And what would give it our best shot is if this was endorsed by the Riverton Liquor Dealers Association. Now, would you be willing to step forward and do that?
Not the way it's written, and not with the attitude that it kind of presents. Because again, it presents, it's our responsibility, and you feel that you need to come in. And if you haven't had to shut anybody down or wanted to shut anybody down, I don't know
that that's quite accurate. I've had a lot of people contact me on the street and say, why in the world don't you close that place down?
Well, but that may be just individuals that...
No, I know, but that's what we're dealing with on a day-by-day basis, so, yes,
we kind of do also.
I see this, I guess, from a very different viewpoint maybe than you do. I personally feel like this resolution has little to nothing to do with an alcohol problem at all. It has to do with a big gap between a responsibility given this council and the authority to exercise that responsibility. The two don't meet one another whatsoever. I see this not as anything having to do with controlling an alcohol problem. If I thought it was for that, I'd never vote for it. That's not why I think it's important. I think it's important because we have been tasked with something that we either need to not be tasked with or have the authority to do correctly. And right now, neither of those is true.
Maybe we were misinformed when we first started with our committee. It was under the assumption because Fremont County has a huge alcohol problem. And that's one reason that the committee met. And you were there, you know. That's the way it was presented. That's the way I understood it, is that we have a huge alcohol problem and we've got to do something about it. So maybe I have misconceptions about it.
And that may be the reason why my fellow council people like this proposal, but I can assure you, in my mind, it has nothing. This, in my mind, has no chance of solving the liquor problem in Riverton or anywhere else in the state of Wyoming, but it brings to light the fact that they've said, yeah, you guys are in charge of the liquor licenses, except for you have no authority to do anything other than either remove somebody's livelihood, which, let me assure you, we can't probably do, because I have a feeling in court we would get our butts kicked, or do nothing. And I don't want to be in charge of regulating something that those are my only two options.
Thank you.
I just don't.
Okay. Any other discussion from the audience? Nope. Okay. I guess I would...
There is an amendment on the table still.
I know. How about if we amend it to table it until next meeting? Is there anyone that would be opposed to such a friendly amendment? Or can we do that, Courtney?
Certainly.
I think we have to vote the amendment up or down before we could table it. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, we have an amendment to the resolution and the amendment. Do you want to refresh our memory on what that is?
Sure. The amendment was to remove at their discretion, the language at their discretion, and change it to based on well-established criteria and recommendation from the police department.
Okay. So voting on that amendment to this resolution at this time, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Mayor votes aye, and I think that's,
At this time, we could table it.
did you get that vote? Okay. Okay, so now to the resolution.
Your Honor, I would motion to table the resolution to give more time to consider language at our work session next week.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to table this resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mayor votes aye. Okay. All right. Let's now go to agenda item number 15. Resolution number 1294, 2014 Council Goals. Acting City Administrator's report, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Annually, the City Council meets to establish goals and objectives for that year, and I believe the council met in March of this year and came to some kind of consensus on what the goals are. Lori Ridgway is here tonight. She was a facilitator for your work session, and so she's here to answer any questions you might have. I believe she and Mr. Weaver met, and this is what they came up from your discussion that you had for 3 hours. And just to give the public a little bit of update on what the goals are, one of them was guide positive growth, support housing and job creation by establishing effective city policies, improve air service. Objective is evaluate options developed by task force, support beautification and continue efforts to beautify the community. The objectives are establish task force to gather community input and develop a list of beautification projects, council involvement in downtown business association and economic development organizations, collaborate with community entities to provide safe, clean environment in our public recreation areas. And the fourth goal under guide positive growth is improve opportunities for community activities, identify opportunities to provide recreational facilities for youth and adults, and identify opportunities for community events. The second goal is enhance dialogue and proactive communication. Target various opportunities to increase community involvement in city government. Continue to focus on two-way communication, disseminate proactive, accurate information through multiple media modes, establish effective communication plan for dissemination of information regarding the EPA ruling, establish processes for proactively informing council of meeting topics, stakeholders during work sessions, provide opportunities for council to engage in dialogue with tribal leaders and members, and support police department and business alliance program. The third one is target public intoxication, support expansion initiatives and increase services of Center of Hope, identify additional stakeholders and funding sources to support expansion of Center of Hope. And the fourth one is demonstrate fiscal responsibility, identify and prioritize needed projects through an annual capital improvement plan, incorporate the approved CIP into the annual budget and future budget forecasts, adjust multi-year CIP projects to changing needs and circumstances in order to ensure completion of projects and financial sustainability, maintain transparency pursuant to cash flow and reserve limits. And lastly, establish support for community special interest groups and clubs by identifying specific funds to allocate to community organizations, conduct facilitated discussion to determine how funds will be divided. And Your Honor, I'd just like to mention that as staff, we take these goals very, very seriously. There's not a meeting that we don't have in that conference room where these goals aren't addressed. These goals are addressed through the council for the reports that you get from staff. They're addressed in our annual report. They're addressed in our master plan. They're addressed in the airport master plan. So we look at these weekly and make sure that we're trying to facilitate your goals and objectives. So again, Mrs. Ridgway is here if you have any questions or would like anything reworded, and if these are your goals.
Okay. Good evening, Lori. How are you?
I don't have a lot to add. I just was here just in case. As you know, we finished our session we start with the big picture with looking back last year and looking at all of the ways that the staff and the council has supported the goals from 2013, and then looking forward to what you would like for those goals to be for this year. Individually, we started to come together on areas of focus, and then the particularly objectives underneath each one. We ended a little bit sooner than we had the opportunity to finalize them. And Stephen and I met on 2 occasions to try and synthesize the areas that you were aligned to illustrate those goals for the rest of the staff and the council. The only thing that turned out a little bit different, I think that Stephen probably told you when he sent them out to you, is we recognize how hard the city staff works to have these goals guide their day-to-day work and their priorities and objectives. And we wanted to be able to also let you know that they will look for that from you as council members. It's a shared vision, and they look forward to seeing at the end of this year how the council has also supported these goals and worked toward achieving them together. So we added the statement at the top that just says that both the council and the staff will work toward these goals together.
Okay.
So if there are any questions as to, we wanted to make sure those represented what you synthesized that evening.
Does anyone have any questions of Lori at this time?
I'm certain I may not a question of Mr. Ridgway, but just a quick question. Since the staff does use them so much, does the staff, did they also have a chance to take a look at them and make a cut on them?
Your Honor, yes, we did have the opportunity to comment on these objectives and goals.
I'm sure that Mr. Weaver and with the senior staff, you know, if he sees a goal in there that's just going to run into nothing but problems, I'm sure that he'll have a chance to comment on it. Yeah, I'm sure that's the case. I think that's fair, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank you. No, I think you've done a remarkable job at pulling together all of the disparate information that you were given that evening and put it together in a very cohesive approach to things. One question I had, I'm seeing 2 or 3 places where a lot of it is linked together with the CPI, and that makes me a little bit nervous, but in a good way, in a negative way. You know, if I'm just not sure how I feel, you know, about that, but.
And the only thing I can offer in rationale for that, Courtney, I think Stephen mentioned that he visited with you a little bit about that as far as the fiscal responsibility portion. I know that as several of the council members brought up, they as projects extend and therefore budgets sometimes change.
Multi-year projects, yes.
Absolutely, and making sure that there was responsibility in completing projects that had been started, and I think that's where that conversation came in.
I guess I could see the other side of it, that if you had a project that needed to move forward and it was moving forward faster than the CPI, would we be suggesting that no, we've got to hold the project down, or we can't fulfill it because it exceeds the CPI? Do you see what I mean?
I'm not going to take any of this personal tonight. The resolution was my wording, and this is my wording. So
okay.
I'm not going to go home and cry tonight at all.
Aren't you?
Stephen did ask me to come up with the language on demonstrating the fiscal responsibility. And first of all, it's a capital improvement plan for our viewing audience, and that's what we address every year. We wanted to be able, as staff, to have the transparency to come to you and not only tell you that when projects are running over or we need to pull back, but also make sure that we are communicating with you about cost overruns. And that has happened previously, how we've handled change orders, how we've held projects back or we've overrun projects. Airport Master Plan is a perfect example. We ran over $300,000 on that project. We have special improvement districts that we've ran over on. I'm not sure in the past as staff that we have been that transparent. All we're asking in this one, and if you don't agree with it, I'll go home and cry and try to reword it in the middle of the night.
No.
But this is simply that you as a council have the choice and the opportunity to look at that capital plan, identify it, approve it, And then through the year, as staff, we come back and tell you where we stand from a financial perspective.
Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman Gard.
I was glad to see that added and the wording that is in there. I think it makes us more fiscally responsible to look at those and get them in front. You know, right up at the airport right now, we have a problem. We're talking about extending our runway and dropping the aggregate from 12 to 15 feet to the west. And yet, on the other side of the ledger, we're maybe losing a carrier if you go clear to the far extent that we don't have a commercial carrier. And now we have this $15 million runway extension, and it's not landing anything over at Piper Cup. And so I think it's important for us to be able to be flexible enough to do those and to see that in large part and how it's connected to the planning that the city, that the professionals are working day to day trying to get the 1 cent in the place it ought to be. And I think it's really important. And so I appreciate that wording. I don't see a problem with the wording. I realize there's times when we'll have to adapt it and amend it. And we meet every Tuesday and we do that. And we adapt and we amend and we change when we have to. And fortunately, it's done on a majority vote. And so I think it's good wording, and we still have our latitude to move projects if we have to. But it gives us a place to start and realize that we do have some criteria that we just can't shuffle the cards every time we meet. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments? No, looks like it's a go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. The chair would entertain a motion regarding would the administrative secretary please read resolution number 1294 by title only?
Yes, Your Honor. Resolution number 1294, a resolution to set goals and objectives for the Riverton City Council to promote the long-term welfare and success of the city of Riverton.
Chair would entertain a motion for the approval of resolution number 1294.
Your Honor, I would make the motion to approve resolution 1294.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and second. Is there a discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Mayor votes aye. Okay, reports and comments. Council committee reports, council members roundtable. Councilman Larson, would you lead off, please?
I have nothing, sir.
Okay. Councilman Fabian?
Nothing, with the exception that the animal shelter is in fact hard at work on the barbecue, which will take place during the rendezvous balloon rally in conjunction with the car show. And if you are interested in helping with the planning of that, please contact Rain Fabian, my wife, or Kathy Hooper, and they would be glad to put you in the right place at the right time for the meetings and planning of that. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Christensen.
Yes, Your Honor. Last week I attended along with you and Councilman Larson, attended the Wind River Citizens Equality Commission at the casino. This was the first meet and greet, and it goes along the lines of our goals, that opportunities to meet with the tribes. They will be having a unity gathering April 16th in the morning. The chief is meeting with them soon regarding that. It is a walk to support diversity in the community, to bring everybody together. It's not just for the tribes, it's for everyone. It would be Stephen Fasthorse that everyone would get hold of, and if anybody needs that information, I'm sure the city still has that flyer from last week. I think they're going to come in and have it on Channel 11, but that is for everyone in the community. It was a very nice initial meet and greet. Last night was the second meeting that I did attend. I've taken it upon myself to attend those, since some of my committees have become, I no longer can attend. These
ladies and gentlemen that are putting this together. I think it's an opportunity for Riverton to go out there. It's Monday nights at the casino and the bingo hall. They have wonderful ideas. They're so willing to have everyone come and talk. It's not about the EPA. It's about people coming together. There's a whole lot of different people there from Lander. I unfortunately was the only one from Riverton. So I wish more people would show up. It's just a nice way of seeing seeing different people's ideas. I think it's a big step. So that's what the only committees I have to report on, or functions I've attended, I guess that would be.
Thank you. Councilman Canan.
The BOA committee meets, at least my first time that I'll have an opportunity to go to that will be the 9th. So hopefully I'll have some information for you concerning that on the next council meeting.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Councilman Garden.
Your Honor, I did take the opportunity to go to the Force Committee just and sit in the audience, and I wanted to mention what a good job they're doing, and they're very committed, well led by the city staff. That's a lot of money to spend inside the city, and boy, do we need it. You can't hardly drive through an intersection that you can't see the opportunity there, and they're doing a wonderful job. I'm glad to see that go forward, and was glad to be there in that information. The airport, we've had a flurry of action in the airport. I don't know that anybody needs any additional information. You can read it on the paper. It's late, but if you have any questions, I do have a communication here from Phil Christopherson, an email that went out today that's announcing the opportunity for another meeting on the 16th. We had one on last Thursday that was a well-attended, very positive, and some good information established, and I think that we can get some things done there. We probably need to schedule a work session for us so that we can stay on top of it and understand, not let it get in front of us and steamroll us. But we need to understand those characters of what's at play. Phil's suggesting that maybe we even suggest or invite Cody or Powell. They've already done this, and maybe they could come in and give us some information on how they adapted those funds into make their airports work better. And I might pass out the information that if you look at air growth in the state of Wyoming, Jackson is phenomenal. There's just no other way to say it. They're way out there, way in the lead. So that's good information that Phil's putting out. I think everybody on the council got invited to the tribal committee, and I realize that that's a bad thing that we can't show up in mass to those, and yet we ought to take a look at that, because I think all of us feel like it would be a good thing to support and have them feel like we were appreciative of their efforts. And when we don't show up, it isn't because we don't appreciate the things that they're trying to do. It's just that when 3 or more of us get in a room, it's a rule breaker, unless we can change that rule. And Courtney, is there any way to change that rule? If we all show up at somebody's wedding, are we all illegal?
No, we'll have to have guys with a gun and badge.
I didn't
Just kidding. Yes, there is.
It depends on who's getting married then, right?
Right.
Okay. I just think that, they send out the invitations in mass hoping to see 6 councilmen and a mayor, and then we send our 3, and that's what we can. If that's what we can do, that's what we can do. I don't want to break any rules, but that's they might look at that as we're not interested. And Mary Ellen, you mentioned Monday night meeting, but what time?
Yes, it's at 6 o'clock at the casino in the bingo hall, the old one.
The old bingo.
789, I think it's called.
Down at the small casino.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Bingo hall.
Okay.
6 o'clock.
If there isn't too many of us involved there, I would be more than glad to attend those. Rec met also the same night that we had council goal setting, so we won't be able to report on that until next meeting. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Your Honor?
Yes, Councilman
Just to
Christensen.
clarify, so with the meeting with more than 3 members, or isn't there a disclaimer on that? We just have to notify the press? Because there was, because we can all meet as long as we notify the press.
But we have to do that, and it's rather costly.
And I've about come to the conclusion that that's the best way to handle it.
Yeah.
To just notify the press, and if there's some event that everybody, and not split hairs over it. I think that it's, I don't know, I just don't have much patience with it to start with. I think it's a foolish rule, but we've got a lot of foolish rules going around. And someone's afraid that we're going to take some legal action someplace in that kind of an event. And it's just, we've taken absurdity to a new height, it seems like. But anyway, what do you do?
The press was there, Your Honor, weren't
Oh,
they?
I know they were.
Yeah.
Bernie was there, as well as Mr. Feemster from County 10. And, I suppose if we had our whole council there sitting in a corner, all huddling up, why then a case could be made. But, I mean,
we have a hard time huddling here.
We've got to be able to do our job and to move forward without being so paranoid that you can't get anything done. It's just ridiculous. But what do you do? But I think, as I indicated, I think the best way to handle that is just whenever we're having something like that is just as a standing policy, just notify the press and not worry about it. And if they want to howl about something that we've done or shouldn't have done or didn't do right, fine, go for it. I don't know. I'm sorry? I know we did, and that's what she's saying, that we did notify the press.
There was
after we went through all of the angst of who could go and who didn't go and who had a conflict and on and on and on, and we all churned up a little bit of bile, and then we said, hell with it, let's just do it. So anyway, City Administrator's report, please.
And Your Honor, just to clarify with Councilman Guard, is that we email the press when we feel that there might be a chance meeting. And we used to have to publicize and advertise with the public, but not anymore. We just simply send them an email. So it's...
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next meeting on the work session, we have 3 topics: of fiscal health report, which I promise will be entertaining. Very entertaining. It won't be rainbows and unicorns, but it'll be entertaining. There's also discussion on the farmers market, where that should be this year, and then the resolution regarding the temporary suspension of liquor licenses. I would also like to say that on behalf of this has been a difficult 8 months with Mr. Urbachite being gone, and I feel that I would be remiss if I didn't say something on behalf of at least of the senior staff that we've missed him terribly. He walked out of this building July 23rd. He's been in this building once since that date, and he's going to be missed for a long, long time. I was telling his daughter that there's just not a day that goes by where we don't hear his name. It's as common as the word "and" in this building. And I think that's the greatest compliment that any individual that has lived the life that Bill has could hope for. And so just to let his family know that we're thinking of them, and he will be sorely missed by many employees with the City of Riverton, as well as Mr. Throckmorton. I hope he has a new chapter and he's looking forward to it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mayor's comments. I'd certainly reiterate that, Courtney, that was well said. It's certainly changed very quickly. And Stephen and I went to a tribal meeting. I don't remember just what the date was, Monday I think it was, out at the casino. And it was meeting with the tribal elders, not the meeting that you were referring to, which we attended also. I did anyway. Stephen wasn't there. But the meeting that we had was with Rosa Salamanca and Ronnie Oldman and some of the other tribal elders that were there. And it was just an opportunity to come together and talk about things in a very candid fashion about how we do things and why we do the things that we do the way that we do. And, just to touch on the subject like you've suggested, that when we're invited to something, why we, and I laid out a couple things on the table that were fairly controversial, but they just kind of chuckled about them and said, that's nothing. We don't know it's nothing unless you tell us. Okay, so there has to be that communication as well. But it's a difficult thing to, and I encourage everyone to, when we have that opportunity to meet with the tribes, to get together and do what we can, and don't see them as enemies, but they're looking at things from a different perspective than what we are, and that's not all bad. But anyway, it's something that we're just all going to have to get through. We're all living in this area, and we're not going to leave, and they're not going to leave, and so we'll sort it out. But we can do so civilly and treat each other with respect. I think that's really important. I just attended the 20th year celebration for Wyoming.com that they had today, and had some good cake and coffee there. That was very good this afternoon. So I don't know if any of you made it there or not, but it was a very nice thing. Mr. Mossbrook has brought that company along in 20 years, so it's quite a leader in the industry. I share with your concerns, and feelings about Bill and his leaving. That was, it's just, it just seems like such a ignominious end to a wonderful individual, and that's just so hard. But anyway, it's another one of those things we'll get through. I can't think of anything else. I don't think there's an executive session this evening. And so if there's nothing else, if anyone has any comments for the good of the cause, why, we'd entertain them. And otherwise, I will entertain a request to adjourn.
Request to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, moved and second.